Okay, cool. Now it's time to check our answers for week 2, reducing radicals. I really hope that this went okay for you. The better you are at multiplication and knowing your facts, your math facts, the easier this is going to be. Because some of them you just have to memorize, right? I mean, the square root of 16 is 4 times 4, so that has a perfect square. 256. Okay, so we're going to break this down into two things that make 256. Sometimes these are harder than others, and even I have to think about it just a little bit. I know 9 will probably go in there. Let me think about this. Let's see, 9, 18. No, that doesn't work. Feel free to get a calculator out. In fact, that's what I'm going to do right now. Let me see if I can find a calculator here somewhere. Do I have a calculator? Okay, so I found my little calculator, and you'll even notice that sometimes I kind of go to the calculator just to do my division and just to see like if a number actually goes into it. Oh, okay. And guess what? This is 16 times 16, and I didn't know that, which means that the answer is actually 16. So you may not have known that either, but with a calculator, everything is possible. Okay, the square root of 500, right? I definitely know 100 goes into that, and it's 100 times 5. The square root of this is 10. The square root of 5, I don't know, so it's just 10 root 5. Number 4, the square root of 105. Ooh, okay. Let's think about if anything goes into this. You could start with your 4, does not go into it. 9 does not. 16, does 16 go into it? Let's check. 105 divided by 16. Nope, that doesn't go in there evenly. 25 does not. 36 probably doesn't either, but let me check. 105 divided by 36. Nope, it doesn't either. Gosh, we're running out of options. 49 does not. Okay, so here's what happens. If you check enough numbers that go to at least half of that one, so 49 is the last number I need to check. If you check all of those and it doesn't work, then you can't reduce it, dudes. It's already reduced. Okay? And number 5 is the next one up, which is the square root of 112. Okay, so I know, let's see, I'm going to work backwards. Half of that's close to 49, but 49 doesn't go into that. 36, I can try 36. 112 divided by 36. Nope, let's try another one. 112 divided by, I know it's not 25. Let me try 16. Good, it's 16 times 7. So you're just using the calculator to see which perfect square goes into it. And once you figure that out, then it becomes the square root of 16 is 4. And then the root 7 is just a root 7, so you just recopy it. Number 6, square root of 36. Thank you, Lord, an easy one. Okay, we're done with that. Number 7, the square root of 48. I did that in the example, I think, and it was the square root of 16 times 3, which is 4 root 3. Number 8, kind of draw a line and separate things. The square root of 75. I think I also did that in the video. What's wrong with me? Break that down to 5, and that's a root 3. Number 9 is the square root of 490. Okay, this looks like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? But if you look at your list of perfect squares, 49 is one of them. And so there's just a 0 on the back, which means it was just 49 times 10. See how crafty that is with just a 0 on the back? So then you can break down the square root of 49 to 7, and the square root of 10 is still square root of 10. All right, speaking of 10, number 10, square root of 128. Ugh. All right, so I don't know. I could try 64. I feel like 64 might go into it. Sometimes you got nothing more than just a feeling, everybody, and it does. This is 64 times 2. So you could break that down into those two, and then the square root of 64 is 4. The square root of 2 is the square root of 2. If you didn't notice that 64 went into it, and let's say you tried like 4 instead, So I'm going to play the what if game. So what if you struggled and you thought that 4 went into it instead? Okay, if you break that down, it would be 4 times 32. And so you may have thought the answer was 2 root 32, but be careful, because if that number can be broken down again, you got to do it again. So for this one, you'd have to break down the 32 again, and maybe this time you would notice that that is 16 times 2. There's still this 2 in the front. Don't forget about him. I'm just going to bring him down. And then the square root of 16 is that right? Did I do this right? That's an 8, dummy. Sorry, I'm calling myself dummy, not you. Okay, the square root of 16 is 4. There's a 2 in the front, and then it's a 2 in the back. So this would be, so you would get the same answer either way. Sorry, I did that wrong the first time because I'm silly. But you can do it either way. I just want you to see it goes way faster if you find the biggest perfect square that goes into the number. Okay, number 11. Okay, what is the length of the side of a square? Okay, there's a square. If the total area is 169. So here's the side of a square, and you remember a square, all of them are the same, right? And it says that the area is 169. So you learned this in the past at some point. Area of a square is just side times side. So what that means is that 169 is your side squared, and now you get to do what we did in the notes. That one I do know. The square root of 169 is 13. If you didn't know it, it's just because you've got better things to do than learn all of your square roots. But you could grab a calculator and figure that out, right? Number 12, what is the length of a side of a square if the total area is 125? So same thing as over here. So here's my sides of a square. They're S and S and S and S. They're all the same. And I know that area is side times side, or length times width. And this tells me it's now 125, so I've got to take the square root of everybody. And this one's not perfect, but I do recognize that 25 is going to go in there. It looks like it'll go in there 5 times. And so then I break down the first number to 5, and the square root of 5 I have to recopy because it doesn't break down. So that would be my answer there. Okay, and now we're down to the last 4, the final 4, which for a lot of people, these are the I hate you kind because there's a little bit more work involved. Okay, here's what's nice. These already match, peoples. So if these already match, then you just do the coefficients. So -3 minus 2 is -5. Then you recopy the root 2. That's all there is to it. Okay, so try 14 if you haven't already. Then watch this video. -√6 minus 3√6. Okay, so same thing. There's an invisible 1 in front of this. If there's nothing, it's not a 0, it's a 1. And these already match. Yay! So I'm going to do -1 minus 3 is -4. And then I'm going to recopy my √6. So that'll be my final answer there. Now 15 will get more interesting because it's kind of like the one I did in the notes. They don't match, but we can make them match, okay? If we, √6 is what we're aiming for. If we can make that look like a √6, then we're in business. So this is really the square root of 4 times the square root of 6. And 4 gets broken down into 2, right? Because 2 times 2 is 4. There's already a 2 in the front, so bring that down with it. So that 2 is there. This is a normal 2. This gets recopied. Okay? And then I'm just bringing all that down. All right, so 2 times 2 is 4. Recopy the √6. And now that they match, what do? Numbers in the front. So 4 minus 3 is 1. And then recopy the √6. And teachers are kind of weird about, we don't like to see it a 1 if it doesn't really have to be written. So it's like an invisible 1. And you can just write it as √6. And the last one of the day, or of the week for a lot of you, yay, is this. All right, so this is a √5. Can we make that be a √5? Well, let's see. 20 is 4 times 5, And so I'm going to recopy this. I'm just going to bring that down here. Minus, let me bring this fella down. Now what's the square root of 4? It's 2. What's the square root of 5? I don't know, so I recopy it. And 2 times 2 is 4. Notice I'm showing all my steps even though I'm awesome. I still show all my steps. Negative 3 minus 7 is negative, oh wait, haha, I did it in my head too fast. Negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7, and then recopy the root 5. So that's what you should get for 16. So hopefully that went well, and if not, it's just going to be arithmetic. Feel free to pick up that calculator to help you remember how many times numbers go into other numbers. Remember, these numbers are the key, and pretty soon you're going to have these memorized like never before, because they're just going to show up like all the time, okay? So this is the key to all of these problems.